Hello everyone and welcome back to Newegg TV. My name is Paul and today I'm here to talk about storage, specifically the different means with which you might store bits of data on your personal computer at home. For quite some time we've had access to mechanical spinning hard drives like this one right here. Those use spinning platters and a read-write head that moves over them in order to put data, zeros or ones, onto the spinning platters. They have grown in capacity for quite some time and now we can get them in capacities up to 2, 3, and 4 terabytes, which is quite a lot of bits. But over the past couple years, we've seen the advent of what is known as solid-state drives, or SSDs, like this one right here. These have no moving parts. They use NAND flash memory to store your data, and they are extremely fast. However, not available in quite the same capacities as are their mechanical hard drive cousins. In an effort to marry these two disparate storage methods together, Seagate has, for some time actually, now been making hybrid drives, and they've come out with a new line. There's a couple different versions right here of SSHDs, or solid-state hybrid drives. Today we're going to take a closer look at the 3.5-inch 2 terabyte version that we have right here. So here are our two desktop SSHDs, and I'm going to start off with the smaller one here. This is a 2.5-inch form factor drive, which is found more commonly in laptop computers, although laptops have even sometimes abandoned this form factor for even smaller form factors. However, this could drop in as an upgrade in a laptop, and what you're going to get is both the spinning platters that are in here, and you're also going to have some NAND flash memory in there as well. Now, this is not the first hybrid drive that Seagate has released. If you're familiar with the Momentus XT, that's been out in a couple different varieties, 500 and 750 gigabyte versions, also in the 2.5-inch form factor. So what we're here to talk about more so today, and actually also share some benchmarks to give you a better idea of the performance, is this one. This is the first SSHD hybrid drive that has come out in the 3.5-inch form factor. So this offers an excellent drop-in solution as an upgrade, for example, for, say, an older computer that doesn't have a solid-state drive, or an older computer perhaps with an aging hard drive, or if you've been interested in the speed and performance that you've seen with SSDs, but maybe don't necessarily have the cash to drop on, say, a full 240 gig version like the Seagate 600 series drive that we have right here, as those can be a little bit more expensive. This kind of gives you a bit of the best of both worlds, so you get the capacity, 2 terabytes available on the spinning platters right here. You also get 8 gigabytes of MLC NAND flash that's also integrated presumably in this area somewhere, and that will allow the drive to store hot data, or basically data that is waiting to be written to the platters, onto the NAND flash. It will also actively monitor the drive's usage, so bits of data that are accessed very frequently, so your operating system files, for example, or if you have some favorite programs that you run often, will also be cached onto the NAND so that when the drive calls for that data, it can pull it off of the NAND memory rather than off of the spinning platters, which are a bit slower, and it gives you the responsiveness that you would often see with an SSD installed. It's also pretty seamless, so when you actually plug this drive in and format it, you're not going to see anything about NAND flash memory or about an SSHD or anything like that. It will simply format and get set up just as would any typical mechanical 3.5-inch drive. As far as connections, they're located here on the back, so this is going to be compatible with the vast majority of current gen, or pretty much most computers that were assembled or put together in the past 4 or 5 years that use a serial ATA connection. So you have a serial ATA data connector right there, and then a serial ATA power connector. The power connector gets a power plug, which comes over from your power supply, and the data connection here, you would simply use a serial ATA or SATA data cable to run from this over to a SATA data connection point on your motherboard. This drive is rated for serial ATA revision 3, 6 gigabits per second. However, you will find you can also have backwards compatibility with serial ATA revision 2, that's 3 gigabits per second, and you'll only see a slight change in the actual performance if you're comparing one to the other. Next up, we're going to take a look at some benchmarks to give you guys a bit of the performance numbers as well as a comparison between this drive as well as the Seagate 3 terabyte mechanical drive. And now a quick run through of some benchmarks. Again, for comparison, we're comparing it with the 3 terabyte drive, but this is actually just our system configuration for the 2 terabyte SSHD. The model number, in case you guys are wondering, is ST2000DX001. You can see the crystal disk info right there. You can also see that we're running wait, what are we running? Ah, yes, an Asus Maximus 5 Gen motherboard. That's a Z77 chipset, which has a native serial ATA Gen 3 6 gigabit per second support. Processor is a Core i5-3570K. We have 16 gigabytes of DDR3 memory running at 1600 speed. It's kind of the basic system configuration. And then for our comparison drive, let me make this bigger. We have a 3 terabyte Seagate drive. This is a current gen drive, so ST3000DM001 is the model number for that one. And this is actually a really nice 7200 RPM drive. So we're going to show you kind of some of the comparison if you were comparing the mechanical portions of these drives directly, and then towards the end we'll give you an idea of the boost you can get from going with the SSHD, which does provide some improvements. So for starters, this is the 2 terabyte SSHD. We're running Atto Disk Benchmark, which runs a bunch of different transfer sizes, starting from small, moving up to bigger and bigger. And as you can see, it peaks out pretty quickly. We're getting a maximum of about 170 megabytes per second for reads and writes, depending on the transfer size, of course, but very respectable for a mechanical drive. Not quite what you would see with the SSD, but bear in mind that this is generating random data, so there's nothing for the drive to cache at this point. So really all we're testing with these is the mechanical portion of the drive. Here's the comparison with the 3 terabyte version. We can see this is a very nicely performing drive. This 3 terabyte one we did, we actually hit just shy of 200 megabytes per second. So from the mechanical perspective, the 3 terabyte Seagate drive we tested is a faster drive. However, we'll see how the hybrid drive can outperform it in just a moment. We ran through most of our tests with this just because we were kind of getting a basis for comparison. This is the disk speed test from Blackmagic. And this tests the drive specifically for use with using it to work with video. So this is kind of giving recommendations for different video formats and resolutions that you might find the drive works with. For PAL and NTSC, you got basic configuration, and then you have some other green check marks here across the board. We hit about 171 megabytes per second on the write and 146 megabytes per second on the read. Jumping over to our 3 terabyte drive, we can see a bit better performance. We hit 176 and 170 respectively for writes and reads. We got a few more green check marks here, but again, these are mechanical drives. They're kind of in the same ballpark. Just the 3 terabyte drive has additional platters, or an additional platter, and it's going to give you a little bit more better performance. We're back to the 2 terabyte drive SSHD again. This is running Crystal Disk Mark. We hit 160 and 180 respectively for reads and writes, and you can see input-output operations per second also listed there, which when you compare to an SSD is not very high, but that's not necessarily the performance hallmark of a mechanical drive. Here's a 3 terabyte drive. Again, we hit a bit better reads and writes performance for your max throughputs, but very similar results when it comes to input-output operations per second in the 300 range. Next up, we have the main event. This is PC Mark 7, and PC Mark 7 has a secondary storage benchmark. All those numbers are listed right down here in the bottom corner. Our secondary storage score, remember that one, 3354. Also, we ran this benchmark a few different times. We saw a secondary storage score of 1,452. For the secondary storage score, we saw some results here. This is sort of simulating actual use case scenarios, so actual applications. So the fastest or the most throughput we would see is with the Windows Media Center score, which hit 173.2 megabytes per second. If we jump to the next test, and this is actually our third run of it. Actually, that last one we looked at was our second run. This is our third run, and as we can see, the performance has bumped up a little bit. This is kind of demonstrating a little bit of the drive's learning curve. So the more you do something, the more the drive will recognize that, store the data in the NAND flash, and give you increased performance. But 3389 and 1487 was kind of our peaks for that. Remember those two numbers, because next I'm going to jump over to the 3 terabyte version, and we can see here a secondary storage score. I keep saying storage store, that's okay. 2268. So let me jump back one more time. 3389, 2268. So our score actually jumped up by 1,000 points, going from the mechanical drive to the hybrid drive. And that's simply a result of these different applications here being able to take advantage of the response time that's available by using that NAND flash to cache the information. Secondary score, even less, 635. Again, that's compared to 1,487. So again, more than double the score going from the mechanical drive alone over to the solid-state hybrid drive. So again, that's a great example, and I like this test because it does run several different ones. It takes a bit longer to run, but it is nice to show. And that's just a quick demonstration of how having that NAND flash in there to cache your data can really improve the performance of the drive. And that is going to wrap it up for this video, guys. Once again, we've been taking a closer look at the Seagate SSHD, or solid state hybrid drive, the 3.5-inch form factor, 2 terabyte capacity version right here. It's also available in a 1 terabyte version, and in case you're wondering, the 2.5-inch model here is available in 1 terabyte and 500 gigabyte capacities. Links to the relevant products are available down in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button right down there. Don't forget to give us your feedback if you'd like to let us know how we did. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.